At my wife's birthday, my wife's mother introduced me to her boss as an unemployed loser and failed husband. Her boss looked at me, smiled, and said to her, "You're fired." You ever have one of those nights where the universe decides to test your patience, pride, and sense of humor all at once? Yeah, that was me, standing dead center in my own living room during what was supposed to be a normal birthday party for my wife, Rachel. There were string lights, too many scented candles, and the faint smell of sangria battling with my dignity for dominance. Everything was going fine until the moment Gloria, my dear mother-in-law, may her ego rest in eternal chaos, grabbed the microphone like she was about to deliver a State of the Union address and introduced me to her boss. Now, I've been insulted before. I've been roasted by traffic cops, baristas, and even toddlers who told me I look tired in the face. But nothing, and I mean nothing, compared to the words that left Gloria's mouth that night. "This is my son-in-law, Mason," she purred with that fake sweet tone that could strip paint off walls. "He's currently unemployed and not exactly husband of the year material." Boom. Silence. Not polite silence either, the kind that eats oxygen and makes you hyper-aware of your own heartbeat. Even the playlist Rachel made, 3 hours of good vibes only pop, cut off mid-song like Spotify got embarrassed for me. Every pair of eyes in the room turned to me, like I was the evening's entertainment. And in a way, I guess I was. I saw someone in the back take a sip of wine so slow, I swear time slowed with it. My cousin Dan, the only person with less tact than Gloria, muttered, "Damn," under his breath like it was a sports commentary. But the real show hadn't even started yet. Mr. Edward Caldwell, CEO, billionaire in sensible shoes, and the man standing directly in front of me, looked between us with a calm expression that said he'd seen this kind of corporate carnage before. I braced myself for pity or small talk. Instead, he adjusted his cufflinks, turned to Gloria, and said, "Gloria, you're fired." Just like that. Like he was ordering takeout. You could have heard a pin drop, or, in our case, an ice cube hitting the floor, because Rachel's coworker Melissa actually dropped her drink in shock. Gloria blinked, mouth half open, like someone had unplugged her from reality. "Excuse me," she squeaked. Caldwell didn't even flinch. "I don't employ people who humiliate their family for sport," he said, smooth as silk. "Collect your things on Monday." I almost clapped. I mean, how often does life serve you poetic justice with a side of irony? Gloria had just tried to end my social life, and instead, she tanked her own career in front of 30 witnesses and a charcuterie board. For a split second, I thought maybe I was dreaming. Maybe I fell asleep watching some feel-good revenge movie. But no, this was real. My wife, Rachel, still frozen mid-sip of her wine, looked at me with an expression that was half apology, half, "Please don't make a scene." Her coworkers, corporate types with smiles that looked stapled on, were trying to figure out if they should stay or pretend to check their phones. I, meanwhile, was just trying not to grin like the Joker. I took a slow sip of my drink, non-alcoholic beer because, unemployment diet, and said, "Well, that escalated delightfully." Caldwell glanced back at me, the faintest smirk twitching at the corner of his mouth, and nodded. Like he knew. Like we were two soldiers sharing a silent, "You earned this one." Gloria stood there, flustered, turning shades of red previously unseen by science. "Edward, please," she stammered. "I didn't mean, he's just—" "You said exactly what you meant," he cut in. "And I meant what I said." She froze. The crowd didn't know whether to clap, cry, or hide behind the dessert table. My buddy Chris actually whispered, "Bro, this is better than Netflix," and I couldn't even disagree. Rachel, bless her heart, tried to salvage what was left of the evening. "Everyone, let's just, enjoy the party," she said with that fragile hostess smile women use right before murder becomes a viable option. But you could tell the night was over. The tension in the room was thicker than the frosting on Gloria's store-bought cake. One by one, people started pretending to get emergency phone calls. "Oh shoot, my dog's sick. My babysitter just texted. My Uber's already here." Lies. Every single one. But understandable. No one wants to stay and watch a mother-in-law emotionally combust. Me? I just stood there, basking in the weird glow of karma's spotlight. For the first time in months, I wasn't the guy everyone pitied. I wasn't Mason the unemployed. I was Mason, The man whose mother-in-law got fired at his wife's birthday party. And honestly, that's an upgrade. Gloria, to her credit, tried to recover her dignity. She picked up a plate of bruschetta and said, "Well, at least the food's good," like she hadn't just detonated her own reputation. Then she dropped the plate. It shattered into a million pieces, perfectly matching her career. Rachel muttered, "Oh my God," under her breath and went to grab a broom. I followed her, because I'm a gentleman, and because watching her mother try to explain herself to Caldwell again would have been too satisfying to resist. "You think I'm in trouble for laughing?" I asked quietly. Rachel gave me a glare sharp enough to slice bread. "Don't." "Okay, I won't. But just know I'm dying inside." "Mason." Right. Serious face. "Got it." We cleaned up in silence for a minute, while Gloria hovered nearby, whispering apologies that sounded more like accusations. "I was only trying to help," she said at one point. "By calling me unemployed in front of your boss." I asked, "That's not help, Gloria. That's sabotage with sprinkles." Caldwell, still standing by the door like an avenging angel in loafers, gave her one final look before heading out. "Happy birthday, Rachel," he said kindly. "And Mason, good luck. You'll land on your feet." "Thanks," I said, trying to sound casual even though I was mentally adding him to my list of favorite people on Earth, right below Morgan Freeman and whoever invented Wi-Fi. When he left, the silence returned, heavier this time. Rachel rubbed her temples like she was trying to erase the entire evening from her brain. Gloria turned to me, eyes blazing. "This is your fault," she hissed. I blinked. "Really?" "I was standing here, holding a plate of sliders, and you're the one who decided to go full WWE promo in front of your CEO. She huffed, grabbed her coat, and stormed toward the door. "You'll regret this," she snapped. "Already do," I muttered. The door slammed, rattling a photo frame off the wall. It was our wedding picture. Fitting. Rachel sighed, sat down on the couch, and finally looked at me. "You okay?" she asked softly. I shrugged. "I think so. Though part of me feels like I just watched a nature documentary called Predator Becomes Prey." She laughed despite herself, which made me feel better. "You're impossible," she said. "You married impossible," I reminded her. For the first time that night, her smile was real. Later, when the last guest left and the house finally went quiet, I poured myself a glass of whiskey I'd been saving for special occasions. And honestly, watching Karma arrive wearing a tailored suit and firing my mother-in-law at my own party qualified. As I sat there, Rachel resting her head on my shoulder, I realized something. Maybe my life wasn't falling apart. Maybe it was just rearranging itself, like furniture after a storm. Messy now, but better later. I raised my glass toward the door Gloria had stormed out of and whispered, "Cheers to new beginnings and unemployment upgrades." Rachel chuckled sleepily. "You're terrible." "Maybe," I said. "But tonight, I'm undefeated." They say bad news travels fast, but whoever came up with that clearly never waited for a Zoom meeting invite that started with, "Hey, Mason, could you stay behind for a quick chat?" That's corporate code for, "We're about to ruin your day and pretend it's personal growth." It was a Tuesday. Of course it was. Every tragedy in my life happens on a Tuesday. My appendix burst on one, my car got towed on one, and now, apparently, I was getting laid off on one. The HR rep's name was Cheryl, which already told me I was doomed. Every Cheryl I've ever met carries at least one pink slip in the emotional range of a tax form. "Mason," she began with the fake warmth of a customer service chatbot, "we've decided to downsize." I nodded like I'd been waiting for the punchline. "Downsize. Okay. So fewer snacks in the break room, or?" She gave me that pity look. You know the one. Head tilt, soft eyes, like she's trying to euthanize your spirit gently. "No, unfortunately, your role has been eliminated." Eliminated. Like I was a mosquito, right? "Of course. Totally understandable," I said. Meanwhile, my inner monologue was screaming, "I just built the damn inventory system you're about to keep using without me." But I kept my cool. I signed whatever she shoved across the table and left with a cardboard box filled with career leftovers, a coffee mug that said Boss Energy, a stress ball shaped like a truck, and my pride, barely breathing. Driving home felt like slow death on wheels. I sat in traffic behind a minivan with a baby on board sticker, which I swear was judging me. The radio played Don't Stop Believin', which was either God trolling me or the universe handing out irony like coupons. I pulled into our driveway, parked, and just sat there, staring at the front door like it was a game show door hiding either a loving wife or an emotional ambush. Rachel opened it before I could knock. She had that sixth sense wives get when they know something's off, like when you forget the anniversary or accidentally like your ex's Instagram post from 2016. "You're home early," she said, cautious smile. I tried to smile back. "Yeah, well, corporate decided to explore new frontiers. Without me." Her face softened instantly. "You got laid off?" I nodded. "Downsized, streamlined, made operationally unnecessary. Pick one." She sighed and pulled me into a hug. And for a second, I thought, okay, maybe this won't be that bad. She kissed my cheek. "We'll get through this. You're smart, resourceful, and you make a mean lasagna." "That's true," I said. "If this marriage collapses, it'll be because someone underestimated my pasta game." She laughed, and the tension in my shoulders eased until the doorbell rang. Enter Gloria, my mother-in-law, the human embodiment of unsolicited advice wrapped in designer perfume. She breezed in like she owned the place, holding a glass casserole dish like it was a trophy. "I heard the news," she said, not even waiting for hello. "I brought lasagna." "Oh, good," I said, because unemployment really works up an appetite. She didn't catch the sarcasm, obviously. "Sweetheart," she said to Rachel, "why didn't you tell me sooner? I could have brought a salad too." Rachel smiled nervously. "Mom, it just happened." Gloria looked at me, her eyes twinkling with that patronizing sympathy only mothers-in-law can weaponize. "Oh, Mason dear," she began, and I swear every muscle in my face braced itself. "Maybe this is a sign. You should focus on household chores for a while, something you can handle. You ever feel your soul leave your body and take the nearest Uber?" That was me. "Household chores," I repeated, smiling like an actor in a hostage video. "That's a great idea. Maybe I'll start with vacuuming my self-esteem off the carpet." Rachel shot me a look that said, "Don't start," but it was too late. Gloria patted my shoulder like I was a therapy dog. "It's okay. Men today just need to adjust. Maybe learn to cook something beyond lasagna." I nodded. "Right, because my only redeeming quality is my ability to melt cheese." Now, I'll give her credit. She did mean well, in the same way a tornado means well when it remodels your neighborhood. She believed she was helping, but every sentence out of her mouth felt like a Yelp review for my life. "So what are your plans now?" she asked, scooping herself a heroic portion of lasagna. "You'll start applying again soon, right?" "Absolutely," I said. "Tomorrow, I'm applying for CEO of NASA." "Don't be ridiculous." "Fine, SpaceX. I hear they hire fast." Rachel tried to hide her laugh behind a napkin, but Gloria wasn't amused. "I'm serious, Mason. You can't just sit around waiting for something to happen." "Technically," I said, "that's exactly what a job search is." Dinner turned into a slow-motion train wreck. Gloria picked apart everything. My career, my casual posture, even my t-shirt. "You know, polos make you look more employable," she said. "You should wear them around the house. It keeps you in the mindset." "Ah, yes," I said. The business casual couch potato look. Very on trend. Rachel kicked me under the table. "Ow," I whispered. "Motivation kick," she whispered back. Gloria smiled like she'd just won something. "See, Rachel, that's the spirit. Keep him focused." Keep him focused? I wasn't a toddler learning to walk. I'd been working since high school, putting in 12-hour shifts at a logistics firm where the only reward was surviving another quarterly meeting. But in Gloria's world, losing a job meant I'd reverted to caveman status. When she finally left that night, the air in the house felt 10 pounds lighter. Rachel closed the door and groaned. "She means well," she said automatically. I looked at her. If she means well, I'd hate to see what happens when she's in a bad mood. "She just worries," Rachel added. "You know she doesn't think before she speaks." "I noticed," I said. "She's like a malfunctioning Alexa, loud, confident, and always wrong." Rachel smiled despite herself, then hugged me again. "Don't let her get to you. We'll be fine." "I know," I said. "Besides, I've got a new full-time job now." "Oh yeah? Doing what?" "Surviving, Gloria." Over the next week, I did my best to embrace the unemployed life. Woke up early, made coffee, even worked out once. Okay, half a workout. I reorganized the garage, fixed the squeaky door, and baked bread because apparently that's what you do when capitalism kicks you out. Rachel supported me. though I could feel her stress simmering. She'd walk around talking about bills and savings like a podcast host for anxiety. And then there was Gloria. She started calling every morning like she was my parole officer. Any luck with job applications? Still applying. Maybe you should lower your standards. Great advice, Gloria. That's exactly how you ended up with your second husband. Silence. Then she hung up. Small victories. I applied everywhere. Logistics companies, freight firms, even one sketchy place called Hall Heroes, which I'm 90% sure was a front for organized crime. I didn't care. I just needed something. Anything. Because unemployment has stages, and I'd hit stage 3, existential crisis with extra cheese. You start questioning everything. Your career choices, your wardrobe, your cereal preference. I found myself staring at the ceiling one night wondering if I could turn my lasagna recipe into a business. Mason's Meals, comfort food for the unemployed. Tagline, broke, but well-fed. Then, one Saturday, Rachel's friend Monica came over for brunch. She's one of those people who always checks in, but mostly to gossip. I heard about the layoff, she said between mimosas. That's awful. But maybe it's a blessing. Maybe it's time to reinvent yourself. As what? I asked. A magician. Make money appear out of nowhere. She laughed too loud and said, You're so funny, Mason. Like I was auditioning for open mic night. Gloria, who apparently teleports to wherever attention is, showed up 20 minutes later, uninvited, holding another casserole. I thought you could use company, she said. And constructive criticism. Oh good, I said. I was worried today might go too smoothly. She inspected the house like a landlord on caffeine. You should dust more, she said. Also, why is your resume only 1 page? Because it's concise, I replied. No, dear, she said sweetly. Because it's unimpressive. Rachel tried to mediate. Mom, please. I'm just saying, Gloria insisted. Men should always have a plan. Mason, what's yours? My plan, I said, is to stay alive until dessert. Don't be flippant, she scolded. I'm being efficient, I replied. But somewhere between sarcasm and lasagna leftovers, I realized something. I wasn't just mad at Gloria. I was scared. Scared I'd peaked at a job I didn't even like. Scared Rachel would start looking at me the way her mom did. Like I was a project that needed fixing. So that night, after Gloria left, finally, mercifully, I sat down with my laptop, opened a blank document, and started writing a plan. A real one. Not a corporate buzzword salad, but a list of what I was actually good at. Solving problems, staying calm under pressure, and, yeah, fine, making lasagna that could end wars. I applied to a few startups that night, places where humor wasn't considered a liability. I didn't know it yet, but that was the first domino. Because 3 months later, at a birthday party gone nuclear, that same lasagna-loving, unemployed guy would stand in front of a room full of people, watch karma deliver a pink slip to his mother-in-law, and think, maybe getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me. There's a special kind of fear that creeps into your bones when you realize your mother-in-law has found a reason to visit 3 times in 1 week. Not for birthdays, not for emergencies, just vibes. That was my life now. Me, Rachel, and Gloria, the unholy trinity of tension and casseroles. It started innocently enough. I just wanted to check on you too, she said the first time, waltzing in with her perfume cloud announcing her presence 3 seconds before the doorbell. She brought muffins. I almost forgave her, until she tasted one and said, Too dry, but that's not your fault. Some people just don't understand portion ratios. Some people? Lady, that some person was me. The next visit, she brought a folder full of career tips, printed from Google and Comic Sans. I swear to God, the woman curated a PowerPoint presentation for my unemployment. I found these online, she said, flipping through it like she'd just solved climate change. 10 ways to bounce back after a layoff. Number 1, stay positive. Ah yes, I said. Positivity, that thing that pays the mortgage. Mason, don't be sarcastic, she replied. That's not a skill. It's gotten me this far, I muttered. By week 3, she had her own mug in our kitchen. That was my red flag. Once an in-law has a dedicated mug in your house, you've officially lost sovereignty. It's just until Rachel's project wraps up, Gloria said, plopping her designer handbag on our couch like she was claiming territory. You know, I can help around here. The last time she helped around here, she reorganized my entire spice cabinet alphabetically. Do you know what it's like to look for paprika and find paprika and pea instead of next to cumin, where it belongs spiritually? It changes a man. Gloria moved in. Unofficially, of course, under the banner of temporary stay. Her suitcase was bigger than my car trunk, and she arrived armed with opinions. Within an hour, she'd criticized our Wi-Fi, our curtains, and the emotional tone of our marriage. You two should talk more, she said at breakfast, buttering toast like a therapist with a vendetta. We talk all the time, I replied. We're talking now. About what? About how you're buttering that toast wrong. Mason, Rachel warned, her tone pure wife code for please don't make me choose between you and her before noon. Gloria had a sixth sense for finding the worst possible time to appear. If I was on a job interview call, boom, she'd walk in behind me asking where we keep the good butter. If I was vacuuming, she'd stand there watching, arms crossed, offering feedback like it was the Olympics. You really should exhale less dramatically, she'd say. Makes you sound defeated. It's called breathing, Gloria. Try shorter breaths. You mean suffocating? If it helps your posture, yes. The woman didn't just criticize, she performed it. Like a Broadway actress starring in How to Make Your Son-in-Law Lose His Mind. Every night at dinner, she'd ask Rachel questions that sounded supportive but were really grenades. Sweetheart, are you sure Mason's okay being home all day? It must be emasculating. Rachel would sigh and say, he's fine, Mom. Then Gloria would turn to me with that fake empathy face. Don't worry, dear, you'll find something soon. Some men just need a little extra motivation. Yeah, I said. I'm motivated to invent time travel so I can stop myself from answering the door 3 weeks ago. I started spending more time in the garage just to escape her. The garage became my sanctuary, my unofficial office, gym, and therapy space. I even started fixing things that didn't need fixing just to look busy. Rachel caught me tightening a bolt on the lawnmower one night and said, "You hate yard work." Yeah, I said, but I love freedom. She smirked but didn't argue. Even she was starting to crack. One night, Gloria joined us for movie night. Mistake number 1. She spent the entire film commenting like she was the director's commentary track. Why is he running back into the house? That's so unrealistic. Because it's a movie, Gloria. Still, a real man wouldn't do that. You know what's also unrealistic? You being quiet for 2 hours. Rachel threw popcorn at me. Gloria gasped like I'd slapped her with a tortilla. You see, Rachel? This is what happens when men have too much idle time. The sarcasm festers. No, I said, it thrives. But the real chaos began when Gloria decided to help me with my job search. She sat me down at the dining table with her laptop, glasses perched at the edge of her nose like some HR overlord. Okay, she said, fingers poised over the keyboard. Let's fix your resume. What's wrong with it? It lacks sparkle. It's a resume, not a dating profile. Exactly. It needs personality. How about this? Instead of managed logistics coordination, say spearheaded innovative supply strategies. That's just fancy nonsense. Employers love fancy nonsense. Yeah, I noticed. That's why I'm unemployed. Rachel peeked in halfway through and saw me half dead inside while her mother was debating font choices like it was a hostage negotiation. Times New Roman, Gloria said firmly. Classic, dependable. It's also what funeral programs use, I muttered. She ignored me. You should also add a hobbies and interests section. Why? To seem well-rounded. Gloria, no one cares that I like barbecues and true crime podcasts. You'll thank me later. I'll send you a card from prison. The next morning, I woke up to find her emailing my resume to her contacts. I nearly dropped my coffee. Gloria, what are you doing? Networking, she said. That's how people get jobs these days. By having their mother-in-law send unsolicited emails on their behalf. Don't be dramatic. You're literally emailing someone called Brett from Rotary Club. He knows people. He also runs a bowling alley. Networking is networking, she said proudly. You should be thanking me. You're right, I said. Thank you for ruining my professional reputation before breakfast. Rachel tried to stay neutral, but even she started cracking. Mom, she said one afternoon, maybe give Mason some space. Space? Gloria gasped. Why? I'm helping. He doesn't want help. Everyone wants help, not from someone who critiques how they breathe. I was just trying to correct his energy. Mom, fine. Gloria huffed, grabbing her purse. I'll give him space. Maybe he'll finally use it productively. She stormed off to her room. Yes, her room, because apparently she'd decided the guest room was now hers. For 2 glorious hours, there was peace. Rachel and I sat on the couch, silent but happy. Then Gloria re-emerged with a PowerPoint on her tablet titled Operation Mason, the rebrand. I almost cried. You made slides? I asked. With animations, she said proudly. I even included a vision statement. Please tell me it's leave Mason alone. It's building a better Mason. I preferred my version. She walked me through her presentation like I was an intern at the world's most unbearable company. Step 1, wardrobe upgrade. You need to look employable even at home. Dress for success. The next morning, I found a stack of collared shirts on my bed. Step 2, morning affirmations. Say them out loud to attract positivity. I'll attract a restraining order if you keep this up. Step 3, stay active. Laziness breeds negativity. That's how I ended up doing forced yoga in the living room while Gloria shouted, "Breathe through your doubt," like some deranged life coach. But Karma, sweet and patient, was already loading her ammunition. Because one afternoon, while Gloria was on one of her long advice calls with a friend, aka gossip disguised as mentorship, she didn't realize her Bluetooth speaker was still connected to her phone. Suddenly, the whole living room echoed her voice. Honestly, Rachel could have done better. Mason's sweet, but he's underwhelming. Like a baked potato. He tries, but he's not steak. Rachel froze mid-step. I slowly turned my head toward the speaker, eyes wide, sipping my coffee like it was popcorn. "Mom," Rachel called out, voice sharp. Silence. Then frantic footsteps. Gloria appeared, face pale as uncooked dough. "Oh, that wasn't. I didn't mean. You compared me to a potato, Gloria. I was joking. You said I wasn't steak." "Well, not in a bad way. What's the good way to say someone's not steak?" Rachel's jaw tightened. "Mom, this is too much. You've been disrespectful, invasive, and now this." Gloria looked genuinely panicked. "Sweetheart, I was just—" "No," Rachel said, cutting her off. "You need to leave. Today." The silence that followed was heavenly. You could hear angels packing Gloria's bags. I stayed quiet, mostly because I didn't want to ruin the magic. She tried one last time. "Mason, surely you don't want me to go?" "Gloria," I said gently, "you've contributed so much to our home. Mostly chaos and unsolicited spreadsheets. But I think it's time the universe gets to experience your energy elsewhere." She left that evening, suitcase rolling behind her like a defeated general leaving the battlefield. Rachel slumped onto the couch, groaning. "I'm sorry," she said. "You shouldn't have to deal with her." "Don't apologize," I said. "I've learned valuable skills." "Like what?" "Patience. Conflict management." Hiding in the garage. She laughed for a good minute before leaning her head on my shoulder. "You're a good man, Mason." "I know," I said, "even if I'm just a baked potato." That night, the house felt different, quiet, balanced, like it remembered how to breathe. I poured a drink and toasted to my temporary freedom. "To Gloria," I said aloud. "May she find peace, preferably far, far away." But deep down, I knew her story wasn't over. People like Gloria don't fade quietly. They regroup, reload, and come back louder. I just didn't realize her next visit would end with fireworks, a crowd, and her career detonating in front of everyone she admired. But for now, I slept like a man who'd survived a hostage situation. There are bad ideas. There are catastrophic ideas. And then there's the kind of idea that wears a nice dress, smiles sweetly, and convinces your wife to say, "Sure, Mom, let's do that." That's how Rachel's birthday party became Gloria's latest scheme. I was still recovering from her last visit, which ended with me being called a baked potato through a Bluetooth speaker. I thought I'd earned at least 6 months of peace. Nope. Peace lasted roughly 48 hours before Rachel walked into the living room one Sunday morning holding her phone like it was a live grenade. "So, Mom called," she said cautiously. I froze mid-sip of coffee. Please tell me she was phoning from Antarctica. "She wants to plan my birthday party this year." I blinked. "Like, voluntarily?" "Apparently, she feels bad about what happened." "Does she also feel bad about the time she compared me to a Roomba?" Rachel smiled despite herself. "She said she wants to make it up to both of us. She even offered to handle everything so we don't have to lift a finger." "Yeah, because that's never gone wrong before," I muttered. "Here's the thing about Gloria, she doesn't plan parties. She plans productions. If Martha Stewart and a Bond villain had a baby, it would be her. Honey, I said, putting my mug down carefully like it might explode. We can't let her do this. You know how she gets. The woman can't even rearrange silverware without turning it into a power struggle. She promised to behave, Rachel said. She said she wants this to be fun and drama-free. I laughed so hard I almost inhaled my coffee. Drama-free? Gloria? That's like saying the ocean's gonna take a weekend off from being wet. Rachel sighed and leaned against the counter, trying to reason with me. She's my mom. She's been trying to fix things since the whole Bluetooth potato incident. By hosting an event with witnesses? That's not an apology, that's a cover-up. Mason, she said, giving me that tone wives use when they're 90% sure you're wrong, but too polite to say it. Let her help. Please. I stared at her. She had that pleading look, half guilt, half love, and I'm weak to that combination. Fine, I said. But if this turns into another, let's roast Mason in front of strangers situation, I'm building a moat around this house. She smiled, kissed me, and said, you'll see. It'll be fine. Those are famous last words in every horror movie ever made. By Tuesday, I knew we were doomed. Gloria showed up with a clipboard the size of a Bible and a face full of purpose. Okay, she said, setting up at our dining table like she was about to launch a space mission. We'll need catering, entertainment, and a theme. A theme? I asked. It's a birthday, not Coachella. Details matter, she said sharply. Rachel deserves something elegant. Something classy. Something that says refined taste. So, not your usual buffet of chaos. I whispered. She ignored me and scribbled something on her list. We'll invite my colleagues too, she added. They'll love to celebrate Rachel. I froze. Wait, your colleagues? What? Networking, Mason. It's good exposure. Exposure to what? My eventual meltdown. Rachel tried to mediate. Bless her. Mom, maybe keep it small. Family and close friends. Nonsense, Gloria said, flipping her clipboard like a magician. The more the merrier. It'll be great for Mason too. He can meet some professionals, maybe make connections. I couldn't resist. Ah yes, because nothing screams hire me like a man eating deviled eggs in his own living room. Gloria shot me a tight smile that could curdle milk. Try to keep an open mind, dear. Oh, it's open, I said. Open like a trapdoor. The next 2 weeks became a blur of text messages, Amazon deliveries, and Gloria's unsolicited visits. She started treating me like her unpaid intern. Mason, could you move the dining table 6 inches to the left? Sure, and then 6 inches to the right, and then maybe directly into traffic? Don't be dramatic, she said, already on her phone. She had ideas for everything. Balloons weren't mature enough. Flowers were too predictable. Even the playlist had to go through her approval process. Your taste in music, she told me one night, is very young. Thank you, I said. That's because I still have hope left. One afternoon, while I was pretending to update my resume but actually Googling how to fake food poisoning, Gloria waltzed in uninvited again. I had a brilliant thought, she announced. What if we have the party catered by my company's event partner? Very sophisticated crowd, top-tier presentation. Sounds expensive, I said. You can't put a price on elegance. That's literally how prices work, Gloria. She ignored me and kept talking. Oh, and my boss might come. He adores family events. I froze mid-eye roll. Your boss? As in Edward Caldwell? The guy who runs your company and looks like he was carved from marble and stock options. The very same, she said proudly. He's so charming. You'd love him. I'd rather love a root canal, I said. But Rachel lit up. Really? Mr. Caldwell? That's amazing, Mom. He's such a big name in your field. I looked between them, realizing I was outnumbered. Yes, let's all meet the billionaire, I said dryly. Maybe he'll take me on as his charity case. Gloria smiled sweetly. Oh, don't be silly. He's very down to earth. Yeah, in the same way a private jet is eco-friendly. By that weekend, the party prep had reached apocalyptic levels. Gloria had taken over the living room, rearranging furniture like she was filming an HGTV episode titled How to Ruin a Marriage in 10 Simple Steps. She even replaced my recliner with an aesthetic seating option. Where's my chair? I asked, staring at the empty spot that once represented my one source of peace. It clashed with the vibe, she said. It clashed with you. I corrected. That too. The catering team came by for a tasting. Gloria micromanaged every dish. Too salty. Too bland. Too ambitious. Meanwhile, I stood there chewing on a canopy that cost more than my phone bill. You're aware this food isn't meant to cure cancer, right? I said. She glared. Presentation matters, Mason. Then maybe you should come with the hors d'oeuvres, I muttered. Rachel kicked me under the table again. I was starting to suspect she and my wife had a secret kick Mason when he's sarcastic alliance. As the party loomed closer, my stress level climbed like a cat in a thunderstorm. Every day brought new improvements from Gloria. She decided our lighting was too dim for elegance, so she installed new chandeliers. I came home one afternoon to find two electricians drilling holes into the ceiling while Gloria supervised like she was directing the moon landing. You're going to thank me when you see the ambience, she said. Oh, I'll see something. All right, I said. Probably the power bill. Even Rachel started showing cracks of doubt. One night, she flopped onto the couch beside me, exhausted. Okay, she admitted. Maybe this is getting a little out of hand. A little, I said. We've got an RSVP list longer than a wedding and a budget big enough to fund a small nation. At this point, we should just sell tickets. She means well, Rachel said weakly. She also meant well when she told me I should exhale less dramatically. I reminded her. And yet, here we are. She laughed, despite herself, then buried her face in her hands. I just want this to go smoothly. I reached over, squeezing her hand. It will, I said, because when the chaos inevitably hits, I'll be ready. Ready how? Emotionally detached. Then came the final straw, the invitations. Gloria showed up holding a stack of embossed envelopes that looked like they were meant for a royal coronation. Aren't they stunning? She beamed. I opened one. Gold trim. Handwritten calligraphy. The words hosted by Gloria Ellison and family gleamed in cursive glory. I blinked. Gloria Ellison and family? I said slowly. Not Rachel and Mason? Well, technically, I am family, she said innocently. Your extended family. Like the appendix of this household. Rachel sighed. Mom, you didn't even include Mason's name? Oh, don't be dramatic, she said. Everyone knows who he is. Apparently not, I said, waving the invitation. Because right now, I sound like a +1 at my own house. I tried to be civil. I really did. But Gloria's ability to turn simple events into high-stakes drama was Olympic level. I half expected her to hire a red carpet photographer. The day before the party, she even brought in a decorator who looked like he charged by the sigh. He spent 4 hours debating whether our curtains were moody or tragic. I sat there with a beer, watching my living room transform into something that looked like a magazine spread titled Pretension Quarterly. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to Rachel breathe softly beside me. I loved her truly, but I couldn't shake the sense that her mother's party proposal wasn't just about celebrating a birthday. It was about reclaiming control. Gloria had been embarrassed after the whole Bluetooth fiasco, and this was her comeback tour, her way to prove she still ran the show. I'm calling it, I whispered to the ceiling. This isn't a birthday party. It's a trap. Rachel stirred slightly. What? She murmured. Nothing, baby, I whispered back. Just mentally preparing for the social apocalypse tomorrow. You'll behave, right? She asked sleepily. I smiled, brushing her hair away from her face. Of course. I'll smile, shake hands, and keep my sarcasm on a leash. She smiled too. Eyes still closed. Thank you. I looked toward the door, where Gloria's clipboard leaned ominously against the wall, and muttered, leash or not, that woman's about to walk right into her own karma. The next evening would change everything, not just for me, but for her, because she didn't realize it yet. But the same party she was planning to showcase her grace and influence was the exact stage where her entire empire would collapse in front of everyone who mattered to her. The decorations were perfect, the wine was expensive, and the playlist was curated to charm CEOs. But buried in all that glitter and confidence was one fatal flaw. Gloria had forgotten the golden rule of karma. It doesn't RSVP, but it always shows up. The morning of the party, I woke up with optimism. Mistake number 1. I actually thought, maybe today won't be that bad. That's how dumb hope works. It whispers sweet lies before reality slaps you with a clipboard named Gloria. I came downstairs in my favorite worn t-shirt and sweatpants, ready for a quiet breakfast before chaos. But there she was, my mother-in-law, in full command mode at 6:42 a.m., already wearing pearls like she was chairing a board meeting. Oh good, you're awake, she chirped, holding a to-do list so long it could have been a Dead Sea Scroll. We have so much to get done. I blinked. It's 6 in the morning, Gloria. Exactly, she said. The early bird gets the aesthetic cohesion. The early bird should mind its own business, I muttered. She ignored me, of course. Gloria never hears sarcasm. It's like her brain filters it out along with accountability. I've arranged for the decorators to arrive by 7, she continued. The caterers at 8. The string quartet by 10. You hired a string quartet? I asked, confused. For a birthday party? Rachel deserves sophistication, she said proudly. And sophistication has strings. So does strangulation, I replied. Coincidence. Rachel came down mid-yawn, wearing her robe, hair messy, still half asleep. Mom, why are you yelling at Dawn? Gloria smiled like she'd just been complimented. Not yelling, darling. Directing. Same thing, Rachel mumbled. She gave me that tired smile couples exchange during shared suffering. Coffee, she asked. Make it a bucket, I said. By the time the decorators arrived, our house looked like a war zone with centerpieces. There were boxes everywhere, candles, floral arrangements, and enough fairy lights to power Las Vegas. Gloria ran around barking orders like a general. No, no, no. The gold vases go here, not there. This is a neutral palette event. People, not a circus. One poor decorator, a college kid named Trevor, looked seconds away from faking an injury. Ma'am, he said timidly. The floral order was delayed, so we brought cream lilies instead of ivory. Cream? Gloria interrupted, aghast. Cream? This isn't a dairy farm, Trevor. I choked on my coffee, trying not to laugh. It's fine, Mom, Rachel said, trying to defuse the bomb. Cream looks great. It looks like compromise. Gloria snapped. The rest of the morning unfolded like a live-action sitcom. The string quartet arrived early, because of course they did, and started tuning in the living room while electricians were still adjusting the new chandeliers. Imagine Beethoven fighting with a power drill. I was in the kitchen, pretending to help by wiping non-existent crumbs, when Rachel whispered, I told you this was a mistake. Yup, I said. We're one argument away from a documentary on emotional terrorism. Then came the playlist incident. I had made one for fun, light jazz, Motown, some pop. You know, music that sounds like human beings might enjoy it. But Gloria vetoed it instantly. Too casual, she said. This is an upscale evening. We'll use my playlist. She plugged in her phone, and suddenly my kitchen was pulsing with classical violin and what sounded like Gregorian chanting. Perfect, she sighed. It says refined celebration. It says funeral with snacks, I said. We're not summoning spirits, Gloria. You just don't understand ambience. Oh, I understand. I'm just ignoring it for survival. At noon, the catering truck pulled in, and I swear, the chef looked terrified before even entering the house. Gloria met him at the door like a border inspector. Do you have the crab puffs? She asked. Yes, ma'am. The truffle sliders? Yes, ma'am. The imported chocolate fountain? Right here. Imported from where? Belgium. Good. American chocolate is for amateurs. I leaned against the counter. Pretty sure Belgium doesn't care, Gloria. She ignored me, again. I spent most of the afternoon playing human obstacle, trying to stay out of the way. Every time I sat down, someone handed me something. Mason, hold this centerpiece. Mason, move that table. Mason, why are you standing there like a bystander? Because that's exactly what I am, Gloria. A hostage bystander. Rachel tried to help, but even she was trapped in the chaos. Her mother had commandeered her own daughter's birthday like it was a corporate rebranding event. At one point, Rachel came upstairs to get dressed and found Gloria in her closet. Mom, she gasped. What are you doing? Just picking your outfit, Gloria said calmly, holding up 3 options like a stylist for royalty. You can't wear the blue dress. It's too daring. The burgundy is more mature. Mom, I'm 32, not the first lady. Well, tonight you'll look like one. Rachel looked at me for help, and I shrugged. She's already breached containment, I said. There's no saving us now. I went outside to escape, thinking maybe I could mow the lawn or dig a small escape tunnel. But even the backyard wasn't safe. Gloria had hired an ice sculpture artist. It's going to be shaped like an R, she said, beaming. For Rachel. It's going to melt, I said. Like my will to live. Stop being negative, she snapped. Do something useful. Move those wine crates to the bar. Yes, ma'am, I said, saluting with mock seriousness. Captain of Chaos, reporting for duty. By 4 p.m., I was drenched in sweat, wearing clothes that smelled like stress and shrimp cocktail. The house, I'll admit, looked incredible, like a Pinterest board threw up elegance all over it. But every inch of beauty screamed Gloria. Rachel's touches were small and fading. I caught her staring around quietly, her smile tight. I leaned in and said, "You okay?" She nodded. "Yeah, just wish it felt like me." I glanced at the sea of gold decorations and candlelight. "Yeah, it's missing something." "What?" "Peace." When Rachel went upstairs to get ready, I was left alone with Gloria for what I can only describe as psychological endurance training. She hovered near the mirror, adjusting her pearl necklace. "You'll behave tonight, right?" she asked. Define behave. No sarcasm. That's like asking me not to blink. "Mason, this is important for Rachel. Don't ruin it. I'm not the one turning her birthday into a job fair. You should be grateful I included your friends too." "You mean the 2 people you invited without telling me?" "Exactly. You're welcome." I took a deep breath and decided to disengage. You can't argue with someone who thinks emotional manipulation is a leadership skill. Instead, I poured myself a soda, sat quietly, and watched her rehearse greetings in the mirror like she was auditioning for America's Next Top Hostess. "Welcome, Edward," she said in her reflection. "So lovely to see you. This is my daughter Rachel, and her husband, Mason." She practiced my name like it was an afterthought. I sipped my drink and whispered, "You forgot to add currently unemployed to my intro." At 6 p.m., the first guests arrived. Gloria floated around, greeting everyone with exaggerated charm. Rachel came down the stairs in her blue dress. Yes, the one her mom told her not to wear, and she looked stunning. Every head turned. Even Gloria's rehearsed smile faltered for half a second. I caught Rachel's eye and mouth. "You win." She smirked back, and for that brief moment, it felt like us versus the world again. The house filled fast. Laughter, chatter, clinking glasses, the kind of background noise that feels alive until you remember it's built on pretense. Gloria introduced me to everyone like a charity exhibit. "This is my son-in-law, Mason. He's between jobs right now, but keeping busy." Translation: this is Mason. He contributes nothing but sarcasm and body heat. I smiled, shook hands, and let my inner monologue do the violence. Every time someone said, "So, Mason, what do you do?" I'd say, "Right now, breathe and cope." At some point, Gloria cornered me near the bar. "Smile more," she hissed. "You look tense." "That's because I'm in a live episode of Who Wants to Lose Their Sanity." "Relax. Everyone loves a good host." "Good news, Gloria, I'm not the host." The string quartet switched to upbeat music, guests mingled, and for a second, I thought maybe I'd survive this circus. Then I heard it, Gloria's laugh, high-pitched and theatrical, coming from across the room. She was talking to a tall, silver-haired man. Mr. Edward Caldwell himself had arrived. "Mason," she called, waving me over like she was summoning a butler. My stomach dropped. Oh, this was it. The setup. The climax. The scene I'd been dreading since she mentioned him. She grinned at me as I approached, her arm linked with Caldwell's. "Edward, meet my daughter's husband. He's currently exploring new opportunities." There it was. The public execution, right on schedule. I smiled thinly and shook Caldwell's hand. "Pleasure," I said. "Likewise," he replied, polite but distant. Gloria leaned in. "Mason's been taking a little break since his company downsized. You know how it is. Some people just need time to find their path again." Caldwell nodded slowly. Indeed. The man had the patience of a monk. I'll give him that. But even he looked uncomfortable. Rachel appeared beside me, catching the tail end of the conversation. Her eyes flashed murder for half a second. "Mom," she said through a smile, "maybe stop talking about layoffs and paths. Let people enjoy the evening." "I'm just making conversation," Gloria protested. "No one wants to talk about unemployment at a party." "Well," I said calmly, "Gloria does. It's her favorite icebreaker." Caldwell actually chuckled at that, quietly, but it was there. The tiniest smirk. And that's when I realized something strange. For all her chaos, all her attempts to control everything, Gloria was cracking. Her jokes were forced, her voice too loud, her smile too stiff. She was desperate to impress her boss, to prove she was untouchable. But underneath, you could see the fear. The kind of fear that comes from knowing your own showmanship is wearing thin. I watched her flutter around the room, correcting waiters, over-explaining decor choices, practically sweating ambition. Rachel leaned in and whispered, "Do you see it?" "Yeah," I said. "The fall's coming." At that moment, I didn't know how karma planned to strike. I just knew it would. Maybe tonight. Maybe next week. But Gloria had built her throne out of arrogance, and those things don't last. For now, I smiled, took Rachel's hand, and whispered, "Happy birthday, baby. May the fireworks start soon." By 7:15 p.m., the house looked like it had been hijacked by a luxury event planner with a mild god complex. Candlelight glowed off every polished surface. The chandeliers sparkled like they'd been waiting their whole lives for Instagram. And the smell of expensive food floated through the air: crab puffs, truffle sliders, and what I later discovered were artisan macaroons, which basically meant overpriced cookies with better PR. I stood near the front door, wearing the suit Rachel picked, holding a drink I didn't need, watching people flood into my home like it was an open house for judgment. Rachel, radiant in her blue dress, greeted her friends with genuine smiles. I admired her from across the room. My wife could make chaos look elegant. Gloria, on the other hand, floated between guests like she owned stock in self-importance. "Welcome, welcome," she said to every new arrival. "I'm Gloria, the hostess." The hostess. She said it like I'd rented the house from her. The first wave of guests was manageable. Rachel's friends were normal, funny, and blessedly unaware of my unemployment saga. We laughed, told stories, even took selfies. For a brief moment, I thought, maybe this will actually be fine. Then Gloria's colleagues arrived, and the vibe shifted faster than a Wi-Fi signal in a thunderstorm. They came in suits sharp enough to cut glass and smiles that screamed networking opportunity. I could practically hear their internal LinkedIn notifications pinging. Gloria introduced me to everyone as if I were a mildly interesting science exhibit. "This is my son-in-law, Mason," she said to a woman in pearls. "He's in between opportunities." The woman smiled politely. "Oh, that's so brave." "Brave," I echoed. "Yeah, I wake up every morning and heroically don't cry into my cereal." She blinked, unsure if I was joking. I was. Mostly. Every introduction came with a tiny dagger. "This is Mason. He's helping around the house while he considers his next move." Translation: this man has no purpose. "This is Mason. He's got such a good sense of humor about everything." Translation: this man copes through sarcasm because reality punched him in the throat. Rachel noticed, bless her, and swooped in like my PR manager. "Actually," she said to one group, "Mason's been consulting for a few logistics startups. He's got options." Gloria laughed too loud. "Options? That's one way to put it." I smiled, teeth tight. "You know, Gloria, if you ever lose your job, you'd make a great motivational speaker for people who hate themselves." She didn't even flinch. She was in her element, holding court with her coworkers, sipping champagne like liquid validation. The food was served, and I have to admit, the catering was flawless. People were actually impressed. Compliments flew. "This truffle risotto is divine. The decor is breathtaking. Gloria, you outdid yourself." Every compliment to her landed like caffeine to a narcissist. She was glowing, practically vibrating with pride. That's when she started taking credit for everything. "Oh, thank you," she'd say. "Yes, I designed the layout myself." "Oh, Rachel's dress? I helped her pick it." "Oh, Mason's suit? I told him to wear something that made him look employable." I swear I could hear my blood pressure rising to the beat of the background music. I found refuge near the bar, nursing a drink and silently reciting affirmations like a man clinging to sanity. Rachel joined me for a minute, her smile tired but loyal. "You holding up?" she whispered. "Barely," I said. "Your mother just told someone I'm considering a career in domestic management." She said what? "Yeah, apparently that's what unemployment is called when you fold laundry." Rachel groaned. "I'll handle her." "No, don't. She'll just pivot to victim mode. Let her dig her own hole." "You really think she'll implode?" "Rachel," I said, lowering my voice. "This woman's ego is a ticking time bomb. It's not if, it's when." I was right. Because 20 minutes later, Gloria's need to impress reached its final form. Public humiliation, her favorite party trick. She was chatting with two of her colleagues when she spotted me across the room and called out, "Mason, come here." Her tone was sweet, like bait. I walked over, cautious. "This is my boss's right-hand man, Greg," she said. "Greg, this is Mason, my son-in-law. He's between jobs, but staying positive." Greg smiled, polite but bored. "Ah, the market's tough right now." "Oh, it's not the market," Gloria interrupted. "He's just taking time to find his confidence again." The group laughed softly, like she'd said something adorably cruel. I froze, half a smile still on my face. Rachel's head turned from across the room. She'd heard it too. The look on her face was pure disbelief, mixed with the kind of anger that could melt marble. I could feel every pair of eyes nearby flick toward me, waiting for my reaction. You ever feel your pride stand up and start clapping in your chest? That was me. For months, I'd let her jab me, twist every knife, hide every insult under concern. But this time, in front of her own colleagues, with my wife watching, something inside me switched. I smiled wider, calm, easy. "Confidence, huh? You mean the one I lost the day you started giving me advice?" The laughter stopped. Gloria blinked, stunned. "Excuse me." "You heard me," I said, sipping my drink. "If confidence had a natural predator, it'd be you." Greg choked on his wine, trying not to laugh. Rachel bit her lip to hide her smirk. Gloria's nostrils flared. "Mason, that was uncalled for. So was the part where you turned my wife's birthday into a TED Talk on how I'm not good enough. But here we are." Her mouth opened, then closed. For once, she had no script. Before she could recover, someone tapped her on the shoulder. "Gloria, Mr. Caldwell just arrived," a co-worker whispered. She straightened instantly, brushing off her dress, switching to fake charm mode faster than a politician in an election year. "Oh, wonderful," she said. "Everyone behave, my boss is here." And just like that, the night hit a new level of tension. Caldwell's arrival changed the entire atmosphere. Conversations hushed, people adjusted posture, and Gloria practically skipped to greet him at the door. The woman transformed into an overachieving intern in the blink of an eye. Rachel sighed beside me. "This is it," she whispered. "She's going to show off until something snaps." "Good," I said. "Let's see karma in action." From across the room, we watched Gloria introduce Caldwell to her guests like she was hosting a fundraiser. She hovered beside him, laugh too high, gestures too big. "This is my daughter, Rachel," she said. "And this," she paused dramatically, "is my son-in-law, Mason. He's currently unemployed, but very supportive." Every molecule in the room froze. I swear even the shrimp cocktail paused mid-tray. Caldwell looked from her to me, eyebrows raised. I smiled, calm as a saint. "Evening," I said. "Lovely party." I'd say Gloria outdid herself, but that would imply she's done something less than excessive before. The guests chuckled. Caldwell's lip twitched like he was fighting a grin. Gloria's smile faltered. "Oh, Mason, you're such a comedian," she said tightly. "At least one of us is laughing," I replied. Caldwell studied us both for a moment, the way a teacher watches students fail a group project, then turned to her and said, "Gloria, I've been meaning to talk to you about professionalism." Her face went white. "Oh, yes, let's talk later tonight." Her laugh came out strained. "Of course, I'd love that." I turned to Rachel and whispered, "That's not a meeting. That's a firing preview." She squeezed my hand under the table, eyes wide but smiling. "Mason, what?" I said innocently. "I didn't do anything." "Exactly. That's what's terrifying." For the rest of the evening, Gloria tried to recover, but she was off balance. Every joke fell flat, every compliment sounded forced. Her boss chatted with guests, and every so often, I'd catch him glancing at me with an amused curiosity, like he knew more than he was letting on. By the time dessert was served, the atmosphere had shifted again. Gloria was sweating under her makeup, her perfect posture slowly crumbling. Rachel leaned over and whispered, "You were right." I grinned. "I usually am. Don't gloat." Too late. As people started dancing, I stepped aside, letting the music and laughter fill the room. The night wasn't over, not by a long shot. Gloria had built this party as her stage, her redemption arc, her grand return to grace. What she didn't know was that the curtain was about to fall, hard. And when it did, I'd be standing right there, front row, popcorn ready. You could feel it the second the doorbell rang. That collective inhale, that subtle shift when everyone realizes the guest of honor just showed up. It was like royalty had arrived. Conversations hushed, champagne glasses froze mid-air, and Gloria straightened her pearls like she was preparing for Judgment Day. She even dabbed her forehead with a napkin, whispering, "He's here," as if Edward Caldwell were the second coming of corporate Jesus. Now, I'd heard about the man, Gloria's boss, the untouchable CEO of Caldwell and Company. Real estate mogul, investment genius, silver-haired charm machine. The guy who probably signs contracts with pins made from meteor fragments. Gloria worshipped him so much she once said, "Edward doesn't make mistakes." To which I replied, "Except hiring you." She didn't laugh. She practically sprinted to the door, her heels clicking like a countdown to disaster. When she opened it, there he was, tall, calm, and annoyingly put together. The kind of man who smells like expensive cologne and quarterly profits. He smiled politely. "Evening, Gloria." "Edward," she gushed. "You made it. Please, come in. Welcome, welcome." She turned back toward the crowd like a magician introducing her final trick. "Everyone, this is Mr. Edward Caldwell, my boss and one of the most respected men in our industry." Applause. Real applause. I swear half the room clapped like he'd just cured inflation. Caldwell smiled modestly, clearly used to the worship. Rachel and I exchanged glances, both of us silently agreeing this was about to get entertaining. Gloria led him around like a trophy. "This is my daughter, Rachel," she said proudly. "You've heard me talk about her." Caldwell smiled, shaking her hand. "Indeed. The birthday girl. Happy birthday." Rachel, ever the diplomat, smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. It's lovely to finally meet you." He nodded, then his eyes turned to me, and I swear, Gloria's entire demeanor changed in an instant. She stood straighter, her smile tightening. "And this," she said with that sing-song voice people use right before committing social homicide, "is my son-in-law, Mason. He's currently unemployed, but has such potential." It was like the entire room leaned forward in slow motion. Someone dropped a fork. The string quartet paused mid-song. I blinked, processing. I knew she'd throw a jab, but currently unemployed with potential? That was a new low, even for her. Rachel froze beside me, eyes flashing. I could practically see her calculating whether smacking her mother in front of her boss would count as a felony. Me? I just smiled. You know that kind of calm you get when you've given up all expectation of dignity? That's where I was. "Pleasure to meet you, sir," I said, shaking Caldwell's hand. "It's not as exciting as being Gloria's son-in-law, but I try." Caldwell chuckled softly, his eyes sharp. "Ah, yes, Gloria's mentioned you. All good things, I hope," I said. "She's a real fan of public character assassination." His smile widened just slightly. "I can see where your wife gets her humor. From surviving her mother," I said without missing a beat. Rachel almost snorted into her wine. Gloria's face turned the shade of an undercooked steak. "Mason," she hissed under her breath. "Maybe let's keep things light?" "Oh, I thought we were," I said. "Your intro really set the tone." Caldwell waved off the tension with effortless grace. "No harm done," he said, looking at me with a faint spark of amusement. "You have a sense of humor, Mason. I like that." Gloria jumped in, panicked. "Oh, he's something, all right. But let's talk business, shall we? Edward, I wanted to show you the setup. Everything's perfect." She started walking him through the house, like a realtor on commission. The decor, the lighting, even the catering, all top-notch. I oversaw every detail personally. I sipped my drink, following behind them with Rachel, whispering, "She's going full audition mode." Rachel whispered back, "If she curtsies, I'm leaving." Caldwell, polite as ever, nodded through every boast. "It's impressive," he said. "You've done well, Gloria." She glowed. Like literally. If smugness were a light source, she could have powered the city grid. "Thank you," she said, tilting her head in faux humility. "I take pride in my leadership." And then, she made her fatal mistake. They stopped near the bar where two waiters were serving champagne. Caldwell asked, "So, Gloria, are these your personal guests or company associates?" She smiled. "A mix of both. I thought it would be nice for everyone to meet my family. You know, my daughter and her husband." She hesitated on husband, like the word had thorns. Caldwell looked at her. "You invited me to your daughter's birthday, not a corporate mixer." "Well," Gloria said quickly, "I believe in synergy between personal and professional life." "Ah," he said mildly, "I believe in boundaries." The silence that followed could have frozen fire. Rachel turned away, biting her lip to stop a laugh. I nearly choked on my drink. But Gloria, determined to recover, went right back into overcompensation mode. "Oh, you'll love the speech I prepared," she announced suddenly. "It's heartfelt, about gratitude, growth, and the importance of family." She climbed the nearest step to address the room before anyone could stop her. Rachel muttered, "Oh no." I whispered, "Oh yes." Gloria clinked her glass dramatically. "Everyone, may I have your attention?" The chatter faded. Even the string quartet stopped mid-note. She smiled wide. "First, thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate my daughter, Rachel, the light of my life. And of course, for meeting my wonderful boss, Mr. Caldwell." Applause again. She ate it up. "Now, as you all know, family means everything to me." Rachel rolled her eyes. "And though times haven't always been easy, we've stayed strong. Even when some of us have stumbled." Her gaze flicked right at me. My jaw dropped. I could practically hear the gasp ripple through the room. Rachel whispered, "She did not just say that." "She did," I whispered back. "And she's about to regret it." Gloria continued, blissfully unaware of the social suicide she was committing. "But through faith, perseverance, and maybe a little guidance, we always find our footing again. Isn't that right, Mason?" She beamed down at me like a preacher calling out a sinner in the front row. I smiled up at her. "Absolutely," I said. "Though in my experience, the people doing the guiding usually need a map more than the ones being guided." A few people laughed nervously. Caldwell's lips twitched again. This man was enjoying the drama. Gloria tried to keep her composure. "Well," she said, "that's one way to put it." Caldwell set his glass down. "No, Gloria," he said quietly. "I think that's exactly right." You could have heard a pin drop. She blinked, confused. "I'm sorry." Caldwell looked around the room, calm and composed. "You know, I've always believed that true leadership starts with humility. But lately, I've noticed arrogance disguised as mentorship. It's toxic, especially in a professional setting." He smiled faintly. "Wouldn't you agree?" Gloria stammered, color draining from her face. "Oh, of course." "Good," he said. "Then you'll understand why this will come as no surprise." He took a sip of his drink, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "You're fired." I swear time stopped. Glasses froze mid-clink, laughter died mid-breath, and Gloria's soul visibly left her body for a brief vacation. What?" she gasped. "Edward, you can't." "I can," he said simply. "And I am. Monday morning, HR will finalize everything. Enjoy your evening." Rachel's jaw dropped. Mine didn't, because I was too busy trying not to laugh. The room was silent, electric, alive with disbelief. And then, as if on cue, someone whispered, "Holy crap!" And suddenly everyone found an excuse to be somewhere else. Gloria just stood there, trembling, her perfect smile cracking. "This is a misunderstanding," she said weakly. "I've given so much, and taken more," Caldwell interrupted. "You humiliate people you claim to love, Gloria. You use charm like a weapon. Consider this accountability." With that, he set his glass down and walked out, leaving the room buzzing. Rachel exhaled a long, slow breath, her hand gripping mine. "Did that just happen?" she whispered. I grinned. "Oh, it happened. Karma just showed up in a suit and tie." Gloria turned toward me, eyes wide with fury. "This is your fault," she spat. "Finally," I said, raising my glass. "Something I'm happy to take credit for. If you've ever watched a tower of Jenga collapse in slow motion, that was Gloria, except her blocks were made of pride, reputation, and $300 moisturizer." For a solid 10 seconds after Caldwell walked out, she stood frozen, one hand clutching her champagne glass like she was debating whether to sip it or throw it at someone. The room had gone eerily quiet, the kind of silence that buzzes with unspoken, "Oh my God, did that just happen?" energy. You could practically hear the party die. Then, finally, movement. Gloria blinked, turned toward me with wild eyes, and said, "You." Her voice cracked like a villain in the third act of a Disney movie. "This is your fault." I took a slow sip of my drink. "Finally," I said, "something I actually get credit for tonight." Rachel grabbed my arm, whispering, "Don't, Mason." But it was too late. Gloria was unraveling right there between the canopy table and the chocolate fountain, mascara starting to smudge as her emotional support pearls trembled. "You embarrassed me," she shrieked. You humiliated me in front of my boss. Correction, I said. You humiliated yourself. I just provided background commentary. A few guests were still pretending to check their phones, clearly trying to avoid eye contact, while also not missing a second of the drama. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. One of the violinists whispered, "Should we go?" And the cellist muttered, "Not for all the tips in the world." Gloria's volume increased. "Do you have any idea what you've cost me?" she yelled. "My career. My standing. My integrity." I offered. "Pretty sure that ship sailed before dessert." Rachel facepalmed. "Mom, stop. Please. You're making it worse." "Worse?" Gloria gasped, turning on her daughter like she'd just found betrayal number 2. "You're siding with him?" "I'm siding with reality," Rachel said, voice low but firm. "You called him unemployed in front of your boss. You've been treating him like dirt for months, and tonight it came back to bite you." I wanted to applaud her. Rachel rarely lost her cool, but when she did, it was like watching diplomacy finally pick up a sword. Gloria's mouth opened and closed, no sound coming out, which was historic, the first documented silence from her in recorded time. Then she did what all cornered egos do. She doubled down. "I was trying to help you," she snapped. "You'd still be nothing without me." That's when the remaining guests collectively decided to nope out. Within 60 seconds, my living room looked like a crime scene after cleanup. Just discarded glasses, melting ice, and the faint smell of scandal. One guy even took a crab puff to go. Caldwell, bless him, had already vanished like a ghost who delivers karma and dips. It was just the 3 of us now, me, Rachel, and the human meltdown machine. Gloria paced the floor, muttering to herself. "He'll regret this. He'll realize what a mistake he's made. I'll call him first thing Monday." "Yeah," I said. "Definitely call the guy who just fired you at your daughter's birthday party. That'll win him over." "Shut up, Mason." She snapped. "This is your fault. You made me look bad." "Gloria," I said, setting my glass down. "You didn't need me for that. You came fully equipped." Rachel gasped softly. "Mason, no, he needs to hear this." Gloria barked, voice rising again. "You think you're clever, don't you? You think your little jokes make you special? You're a failure, Mason." "A joke? Funny," I said. "You said the same thing about the decorator, and he got paid." "I'm sensing a pattern." Her face flushed crimson, and for a split second, I thought she might actually throw something. Rachel stepped between us like a referee at a heavyweight match. "Enough. Both of you. Mom, go home. Mason, stop fueling it." "I'm not fueling it," I said calmly. "I'm just enjoying the fireworks. You know, the one she lit herself." Gloria's eyes filled with tears, real ones this time, not the performance-grade ones she usually kept handy. "I did everything for you, Rachel," she said, her voice trembling. "Everything. And this is how you repay me? By standing here while your husband ruins me." "You ruined yourself, Mom," Rachel said softly. "And you know it." That was the final blow. Gloria staggered back a little, like Rachel's words physically hit her. She looked around the room, the scattered decorations, the flickering candles, the empty champagne flutes, and for the first time in forever, she looked small. The Queen of Control had lost her crown, and she didn't know how to breathe without it. "I just wanted respect," she whispered. "It should have made me feel bad. It didn't. It made me feel human, because I knew what that hunger felt like, to want validation so badly that you start confusing cruelty for confidence." But Gloria? She'd weaponized it. She'd built an empire on it. And now, she was standing in the rubble, still trying to blame the person who'd been holding up the walls the whole time. Rachel sighed, rubbing her temples. "Mom, please, just go home. Sleep. We'll talk later." Gloria looked at her daughter like she didn't recognize her. "You're choosing him over me?" "No," Rachel said quietly. "I'm choosing sanity." For a second, I thought Gloria might argue again, maybe even collapse into another scene. But something in her just gave up. She straightened her shoulders, wiped her tears, and said, "Fine. You'll regret this." "Already do," I said automatically. Rachel shot me a look that could have melted steel. "What?" "I'm not made of stone." Gloria grabbed her purse, gave one last dramatic glance at the room. Her masterpiece turned battlefield, and marched out. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the chandelier. A few flower petals fell from a centerpiece, fluttering to the floor like the remnants of her reputation. Silence. Real, peaceful silence. I exhaled for what felt like the first time all evening. Well, I said, that went better than expected. Rachel turned to me slowly. Better? Yeah. No one died. The house didn't catch fire, and your mom only got metaphorically destroyed. Mason. What? I said, grinning. You've got to admit, that was cinematic. If life had background music, the orchestra would have hit a dramatic chord right when Caldwell said, "You're fired." Rachel groaned, but couldn't help laughing. You're unbelievable. Thank you, I said. It's my best quality. We spent the next hour cleaning up in silence, tossing empty glasses and gathering napkins while the adrenaline wore off. Every now and then, Rachel would shake her head and mutter, I still can't believe that happened. Believe it, I said. That woman's ego just got a one-way ticket to humility. Do you ever stop making jokes? Only when I'm asleep. Maybe. When the last dish was done, we collapsed on the couch, surrounded by the fading scent of perfume, food, and poetic justice. Rachel rested her head on my shoulder. You know, she said softly, I hate how messy that was, but I'm also relieved. Because she's gone? Because it's over. We can finally breathe. I kissed the top of her head. Yeah, I said. And if karma ever needs a PR agent, I'm applying. She laughed quietly. You're ridiculous. I know. But admit it, you married me for it. Maybe, she said, smiling. Just try not to celebrate too hard, okay? Oh, come on, I said. A little celebration never hurt anyone. Except your mom's career. She smacked my arm. Mason. What? Too soon. The clock struck midnight, and for once, the house was calm. No chaos, no insults, no soundtrack of passive-aggressive sighs. Just us, two people who'd survived a party, a scandal, and a mother-in-law-shaped hurricane. I glanced around the room, at the flickering candles and the empty space where Gloria had stood minutes ago, and I couldn't help but smile. Hey, I said, you realize this is officially your most memorable birthday ever? Rachel laughed softly. That's one way to put it. Trust me, I said, pulling her close. Years from now, when someone asks what the best gift you ever got was, you'll say, watching my mom get fired in real time. You're terrible, she said, laughing into my chest. And yet, I replied, still employed by life. 2 weeks after the birthday massacre, I woke up to the most beautiful sound known to mankind, silence. No Gloria footsteps, no passive-aggressive phone calls. No, did you send out any resumes today? It was bliss. Rachel was sipping coffee in her robe, smiling at me like someone who'd just survived a natural disaster and found civilization again. I can't believe she hasn't called, she said. Oh, she's called, I replied. I just blocked her. Freedom is a setting on your phone. Life was peaceful for about 4 days. Then my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Normally I ignore those because they're either spam or my car's extended warranty trying to haunt me. But something made me answer. Mason Rowe, a calm, confident voice said. This is Edward Caldwell. I nearly spilled my coffee. Hi, Mr. Caldwell. If this is about the party, I swear I had nothing to do with the firing. I was just a witness with snacks. He laughed. I know. Relax. I wanted to talk to you. That sentence had big plot twist incoming energy. He told me he'd been thinking about that night. Most people in that situation would have snapped or stormed out. You kept your cool and your humor. I didn't know what to say, so I defaulted to sarcasm. Well, I figured if I was going down, I might as well get a good one-liner in. He chuckled. You handled it well. I like people who stay steady when things fall apart. How would you feel about joining my team? For a moment, I thought he was kidding. You mean like work for you? The man who fired my mother-in-law. Precisely, he said. You seem to understand people. We need someone like that at Caldwell and Company. I looked around my living room, still half decorated from the party that ended her career, and grinned. Sir, that's the best revenge offer I've ever heard. He set up a meeting for the next morning. I spent the entire night ironing a shirt that had been retired since the Obama administration. Rachel watched me pace. Are you nervous? She asked. I'm about to interview with the guy who publicly executed your mother's career, I said. Nervous doesn't even cover it. She kissed my cheek. You've got this. Just be yourself. Great, I said. So half panic, half comedy. Caldwell's office was exactly what you'd expect. Glass walls, city view, and a desk so expensive it probably had its own 401k. He offered me coffee and a seat. We talked about my background in logistics, my time managing teams, and how I handled pressure. Finally, he said, I need someone to run our new operations division. It's not glamorous, but it's yours if you want it. I blinked. Just like that. He smiled. Just like that. I believe in rewarding grace under fire. Then, sir, I said, you've hired the most gracefully sarcastic man in America. I walked out of that building a new man. It wasn't just about the job. It was about finally winning the unwinnable war. I'd gone from unemployed punchline to executive hire, and the woman who'd spent months belittling me was now Googling how to update resume after public termination. That night, I told Rachel the news. She screamed, hugged me, and started crying happy tears. Then she paused and said, "Oh my God, Mom's going to lose her mind." "Good," I said. "It'll give her something to do." The rumors spread fast. Apparently, Caldwell's decision to fire her was the office's favorite gossip topic for weeks. One coworker even leaked the story to a corporate blog. Headline: Executive fired at daughter's party after public insult. The comments section was brutal. Some called it the boldest resignation they'd ever seen. Others just wrote, "Don't mess with karma." I printed one comment and framed it in my office later. The son-in-law deserved a raise. Meanwhile, Gloria's job prospects dried up faster than cheap mascara in the sun. She tried consulting for a smaller firm, but word got around. Nobody wanted to hire the woman who'd been fired by Caldwell himself for ethical embarrassment. Rachel and I kept our distance. She'd call once in a while, leave voicemails that started with, "I hope you're both well," and ended with, "I still don't think this was fair." Eventually, the calls stopped. My first month at Caldwell & Co. was like stepping into a different universe. Competent people, decent coffee, and no one accusing me of underachieving over breakfast. Caldwell treated me like a peer, not a project. He'd stop by my office, ask for updates, and actually listen. When I thanked him again for the opportunity, he said, "You earned it, Mason. You just needed someone to see past the noise." And man, was there a lot of noise. One afternoon, while I was reviewing a proposal, Caldwell walked in and said, "You know, Gloria called me." I froze. "Oh, she apologized," he said. "She said you were a good man and she was wrong." I blinked. "She actually said that?" He smiled. "Well, not in those exact words, but close enough." For a second, I felt something I hadn't expected, pity. Maybe she finally saw what her pride had cost her. Or maybe she was just tired of fighting the mirror. That night, I came home with a bottle of champagne and 2 takeout steaks. Rachel looked at me, suspicious. "What's the occasion?" I popped the cork. "Nothing special. Just celebrating the fact that Karma's a full-time employee now." She laughed, clinked her glass against mine, and said, "To fresh starts." Fresh starts, I agreed. And as we sat there on the couch, wine in hand, lights low, I realized something simple and beautiful. Sometimes your life doesn't collapse to break you. Sometimes it just needs to fall apart so you can build it right. If there's one thing I've learned from surviving a mother-in-law with the temperament of a caffeinated general, it's that peace doesn't just arrive. It sneaks up on you when you least expect it. For me, peace came in the form of a quiet Saturday morning, 2 months after the party that changed everything. I was sitting in my favorite recliner, the one Gloria once exiled for clashing with the vibe, with a mug of coffee so perfect it could have solved minor world conflicts. Rachel was upstairs still sleeping. The sunlight poured through the blinds, and I thought, for the first time in a long time, I'm good. No drama, no shouting, no unsolicited career advice disguised as motherly concern. Just caffeine, silence, and the smug satisfaction of karmic balance. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again, I considered ignoring it. I mean, that's how all my life's chaos starts, but curiosity won. "Hello," I said. A familiar voice answered. "Mason, it's Gloria." I stared at the wall for a full 2 seconds. "Ah," I said. "The ghost of birthdays past." "Don't start," she sighed. "I wanted to talk." "Is this a threat or a request?" "Coffee," she said simply. "Just coffee, please." Now look, I'm not an idiot. I knew this had all the makings of a sequel no one asked for. But something in her tone sounded different. Not sharp, not performative, just tired. Against my better judgment, I agreed. "Fine," I said. "But if you start another monologue about my career choices, I'm faking food poisoning." We met at a small cafe downtown. Neutral ground. No chandeliers, no string quartets, no witnesses. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. Gone was the power suit queen with pearls and posture sharper than a tax audit. She looked human. Jeans, cardigan, no makeup. Her smile was small and uncertain. "Hi," she said softly. I stood, nodding. "Hi. You look less terrifying." She laughed, actually laughed. Not the kind of laugh she used to fill silence at parties, but a real one. "I deserve that," she said. We ordered coffees, black for me, oat milk latte for her, and for a few minutes, neither of us said anything. Just awkward small talk about the weather, the cafe music, and how their croissants were life-changing. It felt surreal, sitting across from the woman who once introduced me as the unemployed charity case to her boss. Finally, she sighed and said, "You're expecting an apology." I raised an eyebrow. "I'm expecting nothing. That's the only way to survive a conversation with you." She smiled faintly. "Fair, but I owe you one anyway." I blinked. "You're actually saying the A word?" "Yes," she said, staring into her cup. "I was awful. I let my pride and my reputation come before family. Before Rachel. Before you. And it cost me everything." For the first time in years, I didn't feel the urge to throw sarcasm at her. She looked genuinely small, not weak, but humbled. "Why now?" I asked. "Because silence gets loud when you lose everything," she said quietly. "And lately, I've had a lot of silence." She looked up at me. "You make Rachel happy, Mason." I didn't want to see it because if she didn't need me, then who was I? That one hit different. I took a sip of coffee just to have something to do with my hands. "So this whole time, you weren't trying to ruin us. You were just insecure?" "Exactly," she said, giving a self-deprecating smile. "Turns out even control freaks can have abandonment issues." I nodded slowly. "You know, if you'd led with that instead of 'you're not husband material,' we could have saved a lot of headaches." She laughed again. "I know. But back then, I couldn't stand not being the most important person in Rachel's life." "Trust me," I said. "You still make the top 3. We talked for over an hour. No arguments, no interruptions, just two people airing out years of bad blood." She told me she'd been seeing a therapist. I figured I owed it to society, and that she'd started volunteering at a community center teaching leadership skills. Actual leadership, she clarified. Not the kind that involves micromanaging floral arrangements. By the time we finished, the tension between us had melted into something that almost felt like friendship, or at least a ceasefire. As we stood to leave, she said, "You're good for her, Mason. For Rachel. I see that now." I grinned. "That's funny. I've been saying that for years." She rolled her eyes, smiling. "Don't ruin the moment." We walked outside, and before heading to her car, she turned and said, "For what it's worth, I really am happy for you. About the new job, the house, everything." "Thanks," I said. "And for what it's worth, I'm glad you're recalibrating." That's one way to put it. She hesitated, then added, "Tell Rachel I love her." "I will," I said. "And Gloria?" "Yes. If you ever plan another party, I'm moving to another state." She laughed. "Deal." Watching her drive off, I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. Not the smug kind you get from winning an argument, but the quiet, satisfying kind that comes from finally closing a chapter. That evening, Rachel and I sat on the porch with wine, watching the sunset melt into the horizon. "So," she asked, "how'd it go?" I leaned back. Shockingly civil. She apologized. Rachel's eyebrows shot up. "She what?" "I know." I checked her pulse. It's still her. "But yeah," she admitted she was wrong. Rachel smiled softly. "That's huge." "Yeah," I said. Apparently losing her job, her status, and half her dignity was the best therapy money couldn't buy. She laughed, setting her glass down. "I'm proud of you. I know that couldn't have been easy." "Honestly," I said. "It was like watching a deleted scene from an alternate timeline where Gloria's a decent human being. Weirdly refreshing." "Do you forgive her?" "Mostly, though I reserve the right to bring it up dramatically during future arguments." "Fair," she said, leaning her head on my shoulder. We sat there quietly for a while, listening to the crickets, feeling the kind of calm you only appreciate after surviving chaos. "You know," Rachel said, "when I think about everything that happened, I still can't believe how it all turned out." "What do you mean?" "You lost your job, Mom lost hers, and somehow you both ended up better for it." "Yeah," I said, smiling. "It's almost poetic, like Karma's a screenwriter with a wicked sense of humor." A few weeks later, life felt fully back on track. My work with Caldwell was going great, challenging but rewarding. The man even had a sense of humor. At one meeting, he smirked and said, "You know, Mason, every time I see you, I think about that party. Legendary stuff." "Please don't," I said. "I get PTSD every time someone offers me champagne now." He laughed. "Consider it a reminder that sometimes the right chaos creates the right change." Gloria stayed in touch, sparingly. She sent Rachel occasional texts, less commands from the Queen and more updates from a humbled citizen. Things like, "Made lasagna today, didn't burn it," or "Found a new book club. No one's cried yet." She even sent me a holiday card that said, "To my favorite son-in-law and my most patient teacher." Inside she wrote, "Thank you for teaching me that control doesn't equal love." I almost framed it. But my favorite part of this whole saga came unexpectedly. Caldwell invited Rachel and me to a company gala. Nothing fancy, just a black-tie event celebrating leadership. We showed up, mingled, and halfway through the evening, he got on stage to give a speech. "Tonight," he said, "we celebrate integrity, not perfection, but honesty in the face of pressure. Sometimes we meet people who remind us what that looks like." He paused, smiled at me from the stage, and added, "Sometimes they even show us at birthday parties." The crowd laughed. I just sank into my seat, muttering, "Oh God, I'm never living this down." Rachel was crying from laughter. On the drive home, she looked at me and said, "You realize you've gone full circle, right?" "How so?" "You started as the unemployed punchline at a birthday party and ended as the guy whose story became a corporate lesson." I grinned. "Yeah, but let's be honest, it's mostly because I had great comedic timing." "And an unshakable wife?" she said, smiling. "That too," I said. Later that night, as we got home, I found myself staring at the quiet living room, the same room where everything had once fallen apart. Now it was peaceful, warm, ours. The faint hum of the fridge filled the silence, and I couldn't help but chuckle. "You know," I said aloud, "if Karma ever writes Yelp reviews, I'm giving her 5 stars." Rachel, already half asleep on the couch, mumbled, "You're ridiculous." "Maybe," I said, kissing her forehead, "but you can't argue with the results. Because here's the thing about justice. It doesn't always wear a robe or carry a gavel. Sometimes it wears a tailored suit, drinks champagne, and says, 'You're fired.' And sometimes, months later, it shows up with a latte and says, 'I'm sorry.' Either way, it's worth the wait."